Ken Simpson with Eastgate. And Jeff is behind the camera there, in the equipment.
So good morning, everyone, and I hope everybody's doing well and taking care. And if you have any, I'm not sure, I can't tell if we're streaming or not. Are we on? Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll start with committee summary reports, technical advisory committee, Gary Schaefer. I saw him on earlier. Gary.
Since the policy board meeting, the technical advisory committee meetings were held in May, June, and July. Some of the programs topics discussed at these meetings included Eastgate safety plan was the latest traffic counting map presented is now available on the website. This map covers all counts conducted by Eastgate 2015 through 2019. Heads update was discussed, as well as the broadband initiative and the Appalachian Regional Commission program updates were presented. Other topics discussed included the fiscal year 2021 through 2024 Transportation Improvement Program, which was finalized and submitted on May 1st, 2020. The Food Pantry Mapping Initiative, the OPWC program, the CARES Act Award, fiscal year 2021 through 25 Transit Development Program report, and the 2020 certification review process, which will be in August, that were all discussed. General policy resolutions reviewed and approved were number 23 through 26 of 2020. Intergovernmental review resolutions reviewed and approved by the technical advisory committee included 18 through 21-2020. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Gary. Next up, Citizens Advisory Board, Justin Mondock.
Okay. Since the last General Policy Board meeting, the Citizens Advisory Board met in May, June, and July in a virtual format. In May, the CAB heard presentations from Stephen Zubik on the fiscal year 2021 to 2024 Transportation Improvement Program, and Mark Ragazine on the 2020 to 2022 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. In June, the CAB heard presentations from Joanne Eisenwine about the Mahoning River Corridor Revitalization Plan, as well as from Grant Taylor about the 2020 Eastgate Regional Safety Plan. In July, the CAB heard presentations from Luke Ruberger about Eastgate's involvement in the development of a regional food pantry location and information map, and from myself about the Belmont Avenue Corridor Plan. The change to virtual meetings has resulted in slightly lower attendance for these meetings and a difficulty in discussing many topics. A survey is currently out to the CAB mailing list to collect information on barriers to accessing this type of format in the hopes to improve engagement through this difficult and unusual time. The CAB approved all of the resolutions that are up for vote and in front of you, this board, today. And that concludes the report.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Just before we move to the next one, I was just going to ask Jeff, is there on the hardware? Okay, all right, I'm having difficulty hearing, so I was asking about the volume. So Finance Executive Committee, Jim Kinnick.
Sure, thank you, Julie. Finance Executive Committee meeting was held this morning through a conference call. The committee reviewed and approved the statement of revenue, expenditures, and operating budget for fiscal 21. It's our annual budget that we put forth this time of the year, and approved that budget as we move forward. Also approved was the current financial report and financial status as of July 17, 2020. It was reviewed again by the committee. That's our review that's quarterly, and that was also approved. The checking account balances as we speak, and again, checking accounts up and down. This is our high time because of some of the dues and monies we collect for the new fiscal years. Is $363,000 savings account, almost $450,000, which is our rainy day fund, and then projects in our project checking account. We have $2.3 million. Again, that's money we hold for projects that have been funded through state and federal government. And it's a sort of a pass through, but at least it's a holding area for some of these projects and assist some of the communities move forward. As many as you will remember, a lot of that big chunk of that money came from ODNR through the administration for the dam removals, and we're holding that until we get the matching funds, hopefully later this fall, to move forward with the Warren Dam removal. So the agency also has outstanding invoices that total nearly $200,000, and that's just our normal reimbursements we get through Department of Transportation and other state agencies like the EPA. So that concludes the finance report, Chairperson Green. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Next up, the business meeting, the executive director, Jim Kinnick.
Sure. Thanks again, Julie. I do want to take the time to just acknowledge everybody is participating in our WebEx call today. It's important to continue to keep moving the agency forward. I can tell you that we have been working remotely since mid-March, like many of you. We'll stay out. We're going to reevaluate the situation once we get into September. But what's most importantly is the agency is still able to conduct business and move forward with many of our programs. And that we're able to employ everybody. We didn't have to lay anybody off or lose anybody. So the agency's working. We're kind of getting, unfortunately, used to this types of meetings. And it's important that we keep pushing ahead. We don't want to lose any ground on some of the programs that we've initiated and are working with our communities on. And what I'd like to do is just kind of touch on some of these today real quick. And if at the end somebody has any questions, please let me know and I can give more of an explanation. I can tell you that the Mahoning River update, we now move forward with the plan where we have a consultant on board that's developing a study of the river. Part of that study of the river is sort of promoting the river. We now have a website called mymahoningriver.com. It's up and running and will be updated continually through this year process. A lot of that money in that plan was spent to analyze, do a HECRAS study of the river, and we will do that from the Girard Dam through the Leavittsburg Dam so that we make sure we're not negatively affecting anybody with the river. Those results are due early fall. Again, we'll continue to look for development opportunities through that study for our communities along the river. The other update on that Mahoning River I'd like to share is the WRRSP funding for the Summit Street Waterworks Dam will be going in shortly. We're hoping to couple that with the $1.5 million that we have set aside in our project funds and be able to get that project and that dam removed here in the near future. Moving on, just want to comment that the Youngstown Build project that we've talked about for a long time finally broke ground last month. Exciting project for the region, specifically Youngstown, and they're moving dirt and cutting pavement and doing that stuff, all that good stuff with orange barrels all around the university. So exciting that project this finally feels like it come to fruition. I also want to comment that since the last meeting, we worked with the Port Authority. They were the sponsor of a Lordstown Build grant that was put in asking for $25 million from the USDOT. Same program that we were successful with the Youngstown Build. This one's, again, we couldn't sponsor. We didn't want to sponsor another one. Our partners at the Port Authority stepped up and are the sponsor of this application. There's two sets of applications that went in. One was a project for $25 million, and the other was a $900,000 ask for planning grant that's available also. So we should hear something by September 15th. We're working with Columbus offices and Washington, D.C., and advocating for our project and try to make a statement of what we're trying to do. Again, a lot of that focuses on the synergies created by Lordstown Motors, the LG Chem plant, and what will become additional supply chain companies, the LG Chem. We also recognize the area for the warehouses, the TJX, and hopefully have additional. So it's looking for money for logistics studies. It's looking for money to possibly team up with the Turnpike for in-road charging for electric vehicles in the future. And it really is a state-of-the-art of an ask. I'd encourage anybody that wants to know more to reach into our website. We have the full application there. And if you have specific questions, I'd gladly answer those. But it's a great project. We've got our fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes. Just want to keep moving along the CARES Act project. That's money made available through EDA. We are the district office in the Chicago region for EDA. We have 4 projects we're working with our communities on. I know that Mark and Joanne sent emails out to all the communities asking if they need assistance to put an application together. We'd be glad to help them with. One would be one of the projects we're working on is the Lordstown Water Tower, Conneaut Port dredging, Golden Triangle, and then we're assisting and supporting Bright Energy in their ask for additional monies for research. So they're all good projects. That's a 2-year window to ask for monies. That's just hopefully the first wave of projects we send in. If any community needs assistance or want further clarification, please reach out to myself, Joanne, or Mark. We'll gladly assist on how we can to make that application better and hopefully more successful. Act money was given for, is going to be given for, it's a non-competitive grant to the district offices, which we are one, and with the ability to bring on additional staff to help with disaster recovery because of the pandemic, and then an economic recovery coordinator because of the pandemic. And that started, and we dug a little bit deeper in that. There was a focus on bringing on additional staff to Eastgate in a 2-year period, and EDA was going to provide money. Unfortunately, it was a government agency. It's hard to bring on somebody for 1 and 2 years. Then I don't know who's going to, we wouldn't have the ability to pay them for year 3 through 30 as a government employee becomes. So we worked with them and worked with the EDA office in Chicago. We're allowed to bring on independent contractor to assist in both of those endeavors. And we would look to do that for a 2-year period of time. Being a non-competitive grant, it should be no brainer that we get the money. We're hoping to have an announcement on that here in the next 2 weeks. And then we posted both of those positions, and we've got some applicants in. We're going to review those and hopefully have somebody on board for both of those categories or scope of work here by September 1st. I just want to clarify what they're looking for too. The disaster recovery coordinator will be working with our 3 counties, Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula, assisting with what the counties, the protocol they went through, what went well, what didn't go well, how can we get better, and move forward should another pandemic take place. It's also tying the communities, the counties together. We don't want to specifically focus on what they're doing in one county. We want to act as a region and get better and stronger as a region so that when, should something like this happen again, or if this continues, how do we get better and how do we assist our communities and our residents in those communities? So that is one of the focus. And the other would just is going to continue the efforts for economic recovery, working with small businesses, working with anybody that was affected, and just about everybody has been, on how we can offer assistance. And that assistance might be through CARES Act project money. It might be through small business money that's been made available. But we want to have an expert on board that can help with that. We're fortunate that the EDA's offered that out to us, and we will take it, and we're going to hopefully move forward with that here very shortly. I also, I know I'm going kind of fast, but I did want to talk about the broadband feasibility study. That is something that we're doing for 3 counties, Mahoning, Trumbull, and Ashtabula. That is to take and analyze what we can do to continue to bring broadband, more broad opportunities for broadband in some of our rural communities. It's also going to analyze the urbanized areas for high-speed internet. And then one of the areas that's really come to light here in the last, unfortunately, the last 4.5 months is the areas of our communities that can't afford internet. I think it's something that's been glossed over, and we want to be able to working with a consultant on board for a study that would line us up with some projects to some implementation solution, abilities to implement solutions and be able to attract more money. I believe there's a lot of money out there for broadband, but I believe that you have to be in line with a solution that's going to identify your problems and how we can get better. In this study, we hope to hear, we were supposed to have that money in line by the end of May. Unfortunately, it took a back seat with the CARES Act kicking in, but they're telling us now we should know that here in the next 2 weeks. Once we get that, we already have an RFP ready to post, and we'd like to have a consultant on board as soon as we can so that we can continue to find those solutions, then attract the funds to implement those solutions. Next, I want to talk about our REDS, which is a Regional Economic Development Diversification Summit. that is going to be held virtually September 1st. This spurred off of the Lordstown Recovery Plan grant money that was awarded to YSU to study and help the area recover from the auto plant being shut down. We will turn around, and they've done some homework, and I will tell you that that contract with YSU, and we got the money a year ago. It took us 8 months to get through the, we'll just say the red tape, but we're moving forward and we're not going to look back. So as of March 1st, we were able to bring on YSU, and they're working in collaboration with Eastgate. They also have Cleveland Urban Design Center, and CSU is also assisting in that development of a plan. But what they have identified right off the bat was the ability to hold this Regional Economic Diversification Summit. What that is you identify areas in your region that have an opportunity to grow, and then the summit brings federal representatives from various departments become part of your summit, and they participate. So if we just want to focus on one of the areas, will be the Lordstown and the battery research. Part of the participants will be representatives from the Department of Energy, Department of Transportation. Also, one of our focus areas is going to be the Mahoning River. So we'll have the EPA and the Army Corps involved. And really, it's the work of locals teaming up with EDA and the district office for the EDA, and they line up the federal representatives from these various departments so they can hear what we're trying to do, see what we're trying to do, and hopefully offer assistance. And really, bottom line is offering funding to move us forward on any one of these areas. And the focus is really going to be widespread in our region. I know it does the river. It looks at Lordstown. It looks at the air base. It looks at the land use study. So we're trying to focus, really get a picture of the whole region. We're going to break it up into 4 or 5 sessions so that each department from the federal government doesn't have to participate all day, but really focus on what their field of expertise is. I will be sending invites and making more information available here in the first week of August, which is next week, but and more to come on the website. It really has taken off here in the last 4 or 6 weeks. What I think is important to recognize is through the research, YSU identified other areas across the country that followed this footprint and were successful in attracting additional funds to the area. So hats off to that team. I look forward to being able to report some funding here in the near future. But first and foremost, we're going to talk about the summit, and I'll get those invites and update our website here in the near future. I want to talk about the census. Let me find my paper. Okay, the census, that's what I try not to get into too much, but I think it's important because the census, we see the ads on TV. The self-response phase now runs through October 31st of this year. Non-response follow-up, census takers will interview households in person beginning August 11th. Obviously, there's some conditions with COVID and the guidelines and distancing that'll have to take place. But the current self-response percentages for Mahoning County are 66%, Trumbull County 68%, statewide average is 67%, so we're close on both of those. So it's important. Unfortunately, I think we're going to struggle, a little bit of the struggle because of the pandemic, and rightfully so, but that program's still moving forward, and more to come on that. That I try to touch on. There's a lot more going on, and again, what I want to focus that, be clear that we're able to operate and work remotely and continue to drive some of these programs, and we want to still be of service in the community. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Ken Simpson, Director of Transportation. He's going to touch on a handful of other topics, but I would encourage anybody, if you have any questions on anything I brought up, I'll gladly answer them now, or if you want to reach out to me or anyone in our office, we'd gladly assist. And I'll leave everybody with a please stay safe and keep plugging away. We're all in this together and we're getting through it. So thank you for your time.
All right, thanks, Jim. Yeah, just to continue on with, as Jim has mentioned, working from home, but still continue to work and do what we need to do remotely. Gary had mentioned it in his TAC summary, but, July 1st, got approval from USDOT and ODOT on our 21 through 24 transportation improvement program. We recently completed the 2020 Eastgate safety plan. Something interesting from that, I believe that was done in early June, but we've already received two studies from ODOT Safety, one in Mahoning County, Glenwood Avenue, and then another safety study to be conducted up in Trumbull County. With that safety plan, we've already pulled two projects out. We continue to look for other projects from that plan to move forward. Gary mentioned briefly also the Valley Food Pantry map. Early on in the pandemic, the local foundations kind of reached out to Eastgate and said, you know what, there's not really a good source for where these Valley Food Pantries either are located or their hours. So Eastgate, we partnered with them, and that's available also on our website. So those are just a couple of the products that we've been able to complete over the last couple of months. I do want to mention also something that's very important. The Ohio EPA through the VW settlement as the applications for the EV level 2 charging. We are currently gathering information, learning how the process is going, and I see Eastgate's role in this as sort of the coordinator throughout both Mahoning and Trumbull County. What we've heard so far is there's 26 counties eligible to apply. You would not be directly applying to Eastgate. The applications will go directly to Ohio EPA. But they've estimated roughly about, if it all worked out correctly, about 110,000 per county. And an entire charging station is roughly around 15 to 20,000. So look for over the next week or two, Eastgate reaching out to you and asking if you're interested. Eastgate more so looking at recommending locations where we think fit the best application and the best chance for us to receive this money. And then also, don't wait for us to reach out to you. If any of our member public agencies have an area that they're interested in, please either email myself or Grant. He's working with me on this. So the deadline to submit the application is September 30th. So our plan is to take August and gather all these locations and kind of see where we feel our best effort should be placed, and then take September and really get into the application process. So, and then one other thing, maybe just a little bit more in detail, is our upcoming certification review. Just like many of you, we also have to follow federal highway mandates and regulations, and this is our 4-year certification review. We're currently in the desktop review, and if you were to go on our website under transportation, Justin pulled it up on the screen for you, you will see this, and it really is a great resource for all of us, even for me, as people ask, well, what is an MPO? What do you do? What kind of planning? I'll direct them right to this site that we put on for Federal Highway and FTA. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the desktop review. These were questions that Federal Highway and FTA started with. This is our planning process. This is what we do. This is how we remain eligible and receive the funding that we do. You have our 2040 plan update and the information there. You also scroll down, the 2050 transportation plan. That's our next plan. That's what we're starting to work on now. So July of 2023, that plan will be adopted and will be out to the year 2050. Of course, our transportation improvement program. You'll see in there our transportation performance measures for those of you that, have been around, that's been something that we've been really concentrating on lately. The transit asset management, transportation asset management, and in there is the ADA. I think if you remember, a year or two, Federal Highway really came up with that ADA push. It hasn't really gone away. We really look for a long discussion with that in our actual interview process. But as you can see, there's a number of things that we have done for our area that continue to move us forward. Our congestion management process, our bicycle pedestrian efforts. And then we get into our public participation, our Title VI, our EJ, our limited English proficiency plan. So again, there's just a number of, there's a huge wealth of information right there at everybody's fingertips that if you ever needed to know what we do and how we do it, it's right there. So the next step is, we got some follow-up questions from Federal Highway and FTA. I'm in the process of putting those together, sending them back. And then on August 11th and August 12th, we will have a virtual meeting. We will be sending out links to that for any of you that want to participate in there. There will also be a public involvement part of that where I think we will reach out to you directly and ask you to attend virtually. So that's kind of we start off the fiscal year 21, July 1st, and this is one of the, this is probably the big that we do as far as, if we're not certified, as an MPO, we don't exist, but I anticipate no problems whatsoever. We've already gotten great feedback from FHWA and FTA with this information that we provided them. So again, look for that August 11th and 12th meeting notice. So, and that's all I have, Julie.
Thanks, Ken. Justin Hondock is going to talk about the Belmont Avenue corridor.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, so as I'm sure everybody's aware that we've initiated this corridor planning process. That was an effort that we developed to provide some extra capacity to our local communities to do some more in-depth planning, to really take a look at these vital corridors that not only connect our communities, but provide the opportunity for commercial development and how that ties into the other surrounding land uses. So our first go at it, we had communities submit to us ideas, and the corridor that ended up being selected was Belmont Avenue. The corridor was really kind of vibrant and diverse as you traveled the entire length. But what we really wanted to do was we wanted to bring those communities to the table, figure out what was important to them, and really mold this plan so that it was useful for them. And not just something that we could throw in our long-range plan and build off recommendations off of. We really wanted this to be an intentional project that paid attention to the needs of the local community. So we developed some simple goals, increasing accessibility of the existing transportation network, emphasizing multi-use or multimodal transportation, supporting ongoing and future economic development, and offer solutions for transportation issues that we've identified throughout the process. So some pretty simple goals that set a good foundation for what we were looking to do. The study area took a look at Belmont Avenue from its intersection with Federal Street, kind of where it starts in downtown Youngstown, all the way north beyond Interstate 80 up to Churchill Plaza in Liberty Township. Through doing this planning project, I thought it was pretty important to lay some historical and social context for the corridor itself. So really going through kind of the methodology of how cities expand, how corridors develop, how transportation is an influential factor in all of that growth, and what kind of brought the kind of areas that surround Belmont Avenue and what created them, what got them to the state they're in today. So understanding that really helps us get a better foundation for how we need to move forward and what types of decisions will have what types of impacts. And then for the rest of the document, we took a look at transportation safety. So a lot of the work that came out of that safety plan and looking at those high priority segments and intersections, understanding the data and the types of crashes that are occurring in those locations so that we could develop recommendations to try and mitigate those crashes from occurring. Transit is a huge element of this corridor. There's 4 individual routes that service Belmont Avenue or the kind of study area itself. So what kind of recommendations could we make that really benefit transit and also benefit the development that goes along with it, and really make the transit along that corridor as useful as possible? And then lastly, we broke the corridor down into individual segments. So if you look through the plan, you'll see 5 breakout areas at the very end that kind of take this corridor and break it into pieces that really make sense to be planned together. So there are noticeable changes when you hit certain areas along the corridor where kind of the feel of the corridor changes. Maybe the infrastructure looks a little different. Maybe people are interacting with the neighboring land uses differently. So being able to break those corridor segments out and really take an intentional look at what's there and what could be there was really a critical component of this process. So the Belmont Avenue Corridor Plan is currently up on Eastgate's website. On the corridor planning page, you'll see a link to it there. And then what's next for the program is that we're looking at another plan to put together this fiscal year. We're going to look at State Route 46, kind of in the Interstate 80 area, heading north into Trumbull County, through Weathersfield Township and into the city of Niles. So we're currently in the beginning stages of just talking to the stakeholders and putting a planning team together so we can really get that project off on the right foot. But we'll have more information about that project in the coming months. And that's all I have, Julie.
Thanks, Justin. Okay, next up, we have resolutions for passage. So as soon as my glasses unclog, I'll read them. So General Policy Board Resolution number 023-2020, amending the fiscal year 2021 to 2024 Transportation Improvement Program of the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments to add the Western Reserve Transit Authority Federal Transit Administration Federal Fiscal Year 2020 Section 5309A Transit Oriented Development Grant Award. We have a motion.
I believe what we're going to through emails, and what we're going to do there is the same thing.
Okay.
We're going to read these resolutions, and then if any of our voting members have any questions regarding these, please reach out to us. But over either, what is today, Monday, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, Lisa will send out an email to our members and ask for your approval.
Okay. Would you like me to continue reading them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. General Policy Board Resolution number 024-2020. Resolution recommending to the State of Ohio Governor's Office of Appalachia and Ohio Development Services Agency to support funding for the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments Local Development District pre-application priority of projects in fiscal year 2021 for the Appalachian Regional Commission. General Policy Board Resolution number 025-2020, amending the fiscal year 2021 to 2024 Transportation Improvement Program of the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments to add surface transportation block grant funding to the Reserve Avenue Bridges project. And General Policy Board Resolution number 026-2020, amending the fiscal year 2021 through 2024 Transportation Improvement Program of the Eastgate Regional Council of Governments to add Ohio State Infrastructure Bank Loan Program funding to the Youngstown Smart 2 project. So if there's any questions on any of those or any discussion.
I believe Justin or even Jeff, if you do have a question at this point, I believe that just use your chat box on the, if you're streaming it, or if you're on a call, you know, if you can, I don't know if they can unmute themselves or not, but if there is anyone that has anything out there, please, you can raise it now. Or like I said before, please reach out to us right after, and we will definitely discuss this and then put any of that conversation in our minutes when we send out and ask for.
Thanks, Ken. So before we adjourn, I would like to mention, since we have, I see 41 participants, I would like to mention a couple of things that are available in Trumbull County for any communities that are in Trumbull County. So the Trumbull County Planning Commission does have emergency housing assistance funds available for persons affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Also, we have working capital loan available through our office at it's a 0% working capital loan. And it's a very simple application to help our local businesses in eligible areas. I'm sure most of you are aware of the local government funds that are being filtered through the auditor's offices in the various counties. So you should reach out to your auditor's offices regarding the CARES Act local government funds if you want more information on that. And as mentioned several times, we're starting the military installation sustainability study. We received a $400,000 grant. The commissioners will vote on the award, I believe, this week. So we're going to get moving on the implementation phase of the joint land use study for the Youngstown Air Reserve Station. And also, you can check that out online, yarsjlus.org. And on our website, on Trumbull County Planning Commission website, there are a number of online tools that are also very interesting. I know TJ Kieran of our office this past week developed a online tool showing where all of the PPP loans were awarded regionally. So, and if you have any questions, you can reach out to our office. So that's really all I have for today.
With that, I think you can just ask for adjournment.
Okay, so with no more questions or comments, we'll ask for a motion for adjournment. Oh, we have questions? Okay.
Stephanie mentioned in the comments about a Clean Ohio workshop.
Okay.
I'm gonna find her.
Yeah, this is Stephanie. I just wanted to announce that we're having a webinar workshop on Wednesday at 9 o'clock with regards to the Clean Ohio Fund program year 2020 through 2021, which is essentially round 15. And items that we'll be discussing are the new application manual and application process. For anyone who's interested, just email me and I will send you the link to the webinar.
Thank you, Stephanie.
One more
welcome.
comment, Julie, before we adjourn. Our next policy board meeting will be in October 26th. And then, as usual, we will not be having our TAC meeting in August. So everybody enjoy the August break from our TAC, but look for the first Thursday in September at 10 a.m. for our next virtual TAC meeting. So with that, Julie, I think that we can just adjourn.
We don't have to make.
I don't believe so.
Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, reach out and have a great day, everybody.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's like you